So, with the Book of Boba Fett coming to a close, I feel like a lot of people have a lot of questions about it. And I do too. And I'll be answering some of them that you might have in a future video. This video is dedicated to our little friend who stopped the Rancor, Grogu. Now, I think Grogu's one of the most controversial characters in Star Wars. A lot of people didn't like his name, and now a lot of people love his name. I think a lot of people loved him in the beginning, and now a lot of people want him to turn into a bad guy, which I really don't want. Anakin was one of my favorite characters, and I watched the original trilogy first because I'm not as old as some other people. I watched the original trilogy first. Anakin turning evil was heartbreaking to me. Anyways, I don't want that to happen again. I don't think it will happen again, but I think there's a lot of things that could happen with this character. Now, these are going to be separated into two mini theories, part 1 and part 2. You are watching part 1, why the Mandalorian, like the series, is named after Grogu, and then part 2 will be why Grogu will wield the lightsaber. The dark saber, whatever. You'll see why I call it the lightsaber in part 2, which will be releasing this week to next week. So be excited for that. But this is part 1, why the Mandalorian is actually Grogu. Now, I'm going to start off by saying, I think the Mandalorian is Grogu because of his choice. He chose the Beskar armor. Well, not the Beskar armor, but like the Foundling armor. And that's a huge point in the series. I think now his path is to become a Mandalorian. And obviously the Mandalorian is named after the Mandalorian, Din Djarin. But what if it was named after Grogu? Because it is his journey to becoming a Mandalorian, like a full-fledged Mandalorian. I mean, it makes sense. His choice, I think, in episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett was probably one of the most important choices in Star Wars because that chose his future. And he can always come back to being a Jedi. You have to remember Yoda lived till he was like 700 to 900. He was old. Grogu will live the same amount of time. He can always come back and become a Jedi. Always. Though he could go out without hesitating as soon as Din Djarin passes away. So what if Mandalorian, the TV show, was about Grogu's journey to becoming a Jedi? A Mandalorian. Listen to me. He chose the Beskar armor for a reason, and I think that's Star Wars saying, yes, he's becoming a Mandalorian. This is completely his path until he really wants to become a Jedi. I think, and I'll touch on this more, he won't have a lightsaber though when he becomes a Jedi. I think he'll be wielding the lightsaber. That's for next week's video. I think this is his journey into becoming a Mandalorian and becoming part of their creed and a part of the Mandalorian world because he's a foundling now, officially. I think by the end of season 3, or if they decide to do another season 4, Grogu will be a Mandalorian. He'll have an armor, which this is a stretch that he'll have armor, but I think he might, I think he will be declared a Mandalorian by the end of the show. And that will prove he is, in fact, the Mandalorian in the title. Because I think it's his, and I've said this so many times, but I think it's his growth into becoming a Mandalorian. That's why it's called the Mandalorian. Now, next week to, like, from a few days to next week's video will be why the Darksaber will fall into his hands. And I'll give a bit of a preview. And I'll give way more evidence for that in that video. This is kind of speculatory, but I think it is why. But a little preview to that video. I think he will eventually become a Jedi too. I think he'll be a Mandalorian and a Jedi, just like the first Mandalorian. And I think instead of having the lightsaber, we'll have the Darksaber. But to see the evidence and everything else, you're going to have to watch my next video or 2 videos from now. I don't know when I'll post it, but it will be soon. But stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.